Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
So in the games where Aaron Judge and Anthony Rizzo can't play, will the Yankees lower ticket prices? No.
I mean, it's a good question, but I think the answer is probably going to be no. But that means
in the games where Anthony Rizzo and Aaron Judge can't play, will the Yankees lower concession prices?
Also a good question, but the answer is probably going to be no. In fact, they might even go up because no fans are going to show up. Yeah, major problem in many ways right now.
Mostly with your emotions.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating, not going to lie.
I think maybe they should move the team.
If it gets them on the field, good.
Could you imagine that? Where the New York Yankees moved?
It would be.
It's absurd. It's absurd to say. I'm just saying for the joke of it.
You know what? I would be all for it. Sure, it's absurd, but I'd be all for it. Start the season in Tampa. I don't care.
Tampa already has a team.
I mean,
Tampa has a team.
I mean, start at your facility in Tampa. Yeah.
But I mean, how many teams does Tampa need? Excuse me, I was just at their facility, okay, 2.5 months ago. Okay, I was at the whole Yankee complex.
That's right.
Right? It's like being in a sewer. No, I'm just kidding. It's spectacular. It actually is spectacular.
Yeah, they can bring the two fans that go to the Braves games over to the ballpark. It won't matter.
Steinbrenner Stadium is. I mean, that park is a beautiful park, and the entire complex is really well done. So, you know. But, play the home games in Tampa.
They should, and the Mets should start, what do they play, Sarasota, West Palm Beach? I forget.
Port St. Lucie.
Yeah, Port St. Lucie, right.
Yeah. Am I supposed to know all this stuff on
I
the
knew it was somewhere in that general area.
Am I supposed to know all this? I mean, really, I know I'm the host, but geez, come on. All right, I can't be the only guy. All right, let's get to our play-by-play call. Let's get to our play-by-play call of the day. A Pirates prospect who will never see the majors. It's a home run.
Beat for a ball and a 1-1 to Cruz. And a swing and a towering fly ball to deep right. Cruz has immense power, and he unloads off the building in right field. It's a homer for Cruz, his second of this spring, and it's 2-1 Pirates now.
Watch his swing right here. This is a breaking ball from Blair going down and getting that pitch. That's a great job of staying on that pitch, not rotating off of it, but getting the barrel to it and driving it to the right side. You'll see it right on top of the roof. That is a towering shot by O'Neal Cruz.
O'Neal Cruz with the home run. In fact, I think with that, he makes the team just on the one swing. And the emotion of the broadcasters was off the charts. There's the drive. It's gone. It's like, okay, it may not be your team, but come on. I mean, how about a little juice here? It's on MLB.com. Let's go.
Didn't want to mention that.
No, senor! No, senor! No, senor!
Man, how about some juice here? Like, you know, home runs are exciting. All right? Hey, come on. See, and then see there we play Ricky Ricardo. Now that's emotion. I know it's a playoff missed field goal. That's what was that? Was that the double doink?
That is correct.
Was it double doink?
Yes.
That's a great call.
It was.
I may steal that. You know? Our fans would get it. They would know what no senor means.
There you go.
You know? I mean, come on. It's a university. It's an intellectual crowd.
I think he would give you permission, too. I think he would.
Oh, him? He absolutely would. I think he'd be complimented. No, seriously. I think he'd be complimented.
I think so.
He is a cool dude, man. I like having him on. Believe me, I want you to take time, because obviously you were too busy being important yesterday. Listen to the Merrill interview, and then I want to know what you think of it.
Yes, I still need to do that. I was going to try to do it today, but I was unable to, so I am definitely going to do that. Yes, I'll report back tomorrow.
What? Was there somebody passing in a no passing zone? It was breaking news? What?
It was nothing like that in particular, but, it was busy today.
In other words, because the co-host of the show yesterday, you felt like you heard the announcement, clean up on aisle 4?
Oh, my almighty!
Hey, at least Mertzie's got to be happy. My dog made the broadcast today.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, come on. Right? And I was extremely loving to the dog on the air. Like, didn't bother me. The dog barked. I don't care. It's all part of life.
You would have done it better than me.
Oh, come on. In all seriousness, it's like, you know what I want people to get back to? We're going to hear from Sandy Barbour in a moment. Let's get back to having fun. Let's have fun. Every time we turn around, something serious, something bad. Everybody, let's have a good time. All right? Let's go over to Penn's Tavern, have some fun. All right? Friday, let's go to Brewer's Outlet, stock up, have some fun. Let's just have fun. Come on. Life's too short. Life's too short. Right? Put away the Motrin. Oh, wait, you might need it.
I'll try to live without it, though, I promise.
Well, that was like the running joke today. We were talking about we've talked about Roger can get a little like can be a little intense on the network, right? And he's I love Raj, great pro. He and I have been worked together for almost 40 years now. I think the world of him, but we're different personalities, right? And you know what drives him crazy? Which I think also drives you crazy.
Not sticking to the script.
No. That's how. No, in a lot of ways, I create the script. That's not it. But for the most part, I'm like, hey, everything's good.
Yeah,
Don't worry,
there's that too.
I'll take care of it. And do I take care of it?
You do.
Yeah. It drives him nuts. He's like, I said, no, I'll take care of it. Don't worry. It's okay. It's right. We're good. We're fine. Don't worry about it. I say, I'll make up for it. Okay? I'll cover it. All right. We're good. Now, when they couldn't get us on the air in Ireland, no, we got on the air on time. But Jack's like, you think we're going to get on the air? I said, yeah, don't worry about it. They're fine. These guys know what they're doing. We're good. Are you sure? No, Jack, we're good. And he looks at me and says, your heart rate's always 45, isn't it? I said, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That's right.
Drives you nuts. But I want everybody to have some fun. Enjoy it. Okay? Come on. Let's have fun in life. The dog barked in the air. Ooh, oh, good. I think that was funny. You are like, you're a basket case over it. Made the show sound small time. Oh, come on, we got enough big time. Guess we're good. All right, come on. All right, Sandy Barbour at her press conference as she discussed her decision that this summer she will be stepping aside as the athletic director at Penn State.
Thanks, KP. I appreciate it. I assume we're all here to talk about mobile ticketing. Okay, got a little bit of laugh. Huh?
You got more than the one, you better.
Yeah, I thought I might get one, and it wasn't Audrey. No, I know you didn't. That's what I'm saying. I didn't. You weren't necessarily the one I anticipated. So, thanks everybody for being here on the opening of spring ball. Just a couple of opening comments from me, and then obviously more than happy to take your questions. I love Penn State. I have loved my 8 years here, almost 8 years, not quite at this point. It's been an incredible journey and really an honor and a privilege to serve this community, serve this university, and most importantly, serve our student athletes. As we got clear of the fall, the bowl game, the football season, the bowl game, finished up our volleyball search, women's volleyball search, our COVID numbers started to go down, and we all could kind of take a little bit of a breath. I really started reflecting and thinking about all of this, thinking about kind of where I was from a health and well-being standpoint, and where my mind was. I didn't get an opportunity to see my family over the holiday because of the bowl and primarily the bowl and the search. I went and spent some time with my family late in January, and that really started my mind thinking. And as I kind of assessed where I was and started thinking about it in terms of the intersection with where Penn State was, and in particular our presidential transition, I really determined and decided that not only was it the best decision for me and the right time for me, but it was probably a pretty good time for Penn State. And so that's where my decision came from. And I want to say, I want to be really clear about something, and that is that I think that Neal Bendapudi is going to be fantastic for Penn State. You all know how I feel about Eric Barron and what he has done for Penn State and by extension Penn State athletics. But I am really looking forward to watching what Neely's leadership, what Penn State will do under Neely's leadership, what Penn State athletics will do under Neely's leadership, because I think she is fantastic. I think she will provide really strong and determined leadership for Penn State that will be very good not only for Penn State but for Penn State athletics. I think she gets it. She understands the power of athletics and what it can do for a campus, and I think she intends to leverage that to the max. And I, for one, am very excited to see what that is. So one last thing while we're here, we do have in the room our Intercollegiate Athletics leadership team, and I just want to say that the privilege has been all mine to serve alongside these phenomenal men and women. I started to say young men and young women. A couple of you are, but I consider it my great honor. They are fantastic, and will continue to have and will continue to serve Penn State in a first class in a really impactful way. And I just want to very publicly, there will be other opportunities to do that, but very publicly want to say thank you to my team.
We'll open up to questions here in the room. Raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you. Go ahead, Pickle.
Good afternoon, Sandy. Thanks for doing this. In the release, it said your last day, or you would be done in the summer. So will you go to the end of the school year? Will you go close to the start of next school year? And what will the transition phase be like in terms of making decisions, things like that? And do you want to be a part of the search for your replacement?
I've indicated to both Dr. Barron and Dr. Bendapudi that I certainly informed them of this decision in time for them to have some good runway. Well, for Neely to have the runway to hire somebody before I leave, and obviously until we have somebody else in place, I'll continue to lead this department and make decisions as has always been appropriate, and as I've told our entire department, you all know me and know that I'm all in it, and I'm probably going to be working my tail off until the last day, and maybe leaving the office somewhere around 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I don't know, but yeah, it's obviously this is Neely's decision as to who comes next, and whatever's appropriate for me to, if asked, to provide input, I'll certainly do that. I love Penn State, and I want only what's best for Penn State.
Sandy, a big big part of what you were able to do during your tenure involved facilities, upgrading facilities, improving facilities. What are some of the highlights to you, and are there things that you weren't able to quite get done before retiring that you would like to maybe have been able to get it done? Thank you.
Yeah, our plans and the master plan, you know, the 20-year master plan is exactly that, at least. And there are lots of things we didn't get done. I certainly wish that we could have gotten more done there. But again, we purposely set out to be pretty ambitious. But having said that, everything in that plan, our programs and our student athletes need. And they need sooner than later. And so I certainly would encourage all of our supporters, you know, to think about how they can help with that. But certainly, you know, I'll always be very proud of the fact that the Morgan Academic Center renovation was our first capital project in my time and our time here. I think that sent all the right messages. I think it's had something to do, I don't think it's a huge piece, but it's had something to do with the records that we've set in terms of the academic performance of our student athletes. They feel a certain sense of pride in walking in there, and the facility itself certainly signals that Penn State cares very deeply about what they do academically. Certainly the various different phases of LASH and what we've been able to accomplish there, I think, have been very, very important. Obviously a big stage underway at this point, and then some smaller things to come. Panzer Stadium for lacrosse obviously was a huge piece for that program. What we've done, the renovation with men's and women's basketball and their locker rooms in the BJC, and their strength and conditioning and sports medicine facilities are probably the biggest ones, but there have been lots of little ones that have made a difference. But having said that, there's still some big ones on the horizon, and I know that Penn State in total is taking those very seriously. Certainly, we had a setback as it related to COVID that kind of ate up some of our reserves that we were trying to build up to help us address some of those needs. But I know that those improvements are on the horizon. We've made some inroads with donors that are contemplating gifts to help us with those things. And certainly I know my successor will continue to encourage those folks to make facilities a priority.
Sandy, did you get as far as you wanted? In the master plan regarding Beaver Stadium, and in 10 years when you come back, what's Beaver Stadium going to look like then?
Yeah,
I would be there.
I would say, I'm sorry?
Or will it even be there?
I would say the Beaver Stadium piece is on the timeline that we thought. We never thought that was going to be. We never said that was going to be in the first 5. That needed some runway and some time to accomplish or to undertake the studies and do the kinds of things that you need to be ready for that. So I think that is. The Beaver Stadium piece, although obviously a huge piece, that's right on the timeline I think we probably all anticipated. Yes, I'm looking forward to coming back in some period of time and seeing the renovated Beaver Stadium.
Sandy, over here, this side. Hi. Quick question for you. So when it comes to the facilities component, why was it so important for Penn State and Coolong Ice Arena to host the Women's Frozen Four this past weekend?
Yeah, what a great question. And having been there yesterday, it was a great showcase for women's collegiate hockey, and what a great showcase for Pagula and the 4 teams that certainly attended. I talked to representatives of all of those teams over the weekend, and they were just blown away. You know, we have our eye on taking our place in the Frozen Final Four, taking our place amongst the best in women's college hockey, and the opportunity to show off Pagula, show off our hospitality. Shout out to to Jen James and everyone who worked on that. Once again, Penn State comes away from that as kind of being known as best in class, best in the business in terms of hosting high-level events like that. And all of that accrues from a recruiting standpoint, from a stature in college women's ice hockey. All of that accrues, very positively to Penn State. So it was an important thing for us.
Thanks, Andy. I guess your nitwit streak is going to end.
Well, unless you invite me back.
Just curious, what's next for you? Do you see, is this a retirement? Do you see any role in, will you be an AD again or involved with college athletics? And where do you expect to live?
Appreciate the question, and I would appreciate being invited back to be a nitwit. I'm sure that's going to open me up to all kinds of follow-on comments. Yeah, great question. I have, you all know, you've read it, and I have. When I signed the extension in 2019, I said this is my last AD job. And nothing has changed about that. I only know one way, and I've been doing it that one way for 41 years versus a coach, and then as an administrator. I think there comes a time when you just can't do it the way you expect to, and again, that's part of my decision. But I will not be an AD. Again, I'm going to close that chapter. Certainly, there's some things that I have in mind that I want to do. I definitely want to teach. I did a little bit of teaching along the way at some times and really enjoyed it. And you all know how I feel about students and their opportunities, and I'd love to have the opportunity to get in the classroom with them. It's kind of like being a coach again. Other than that, I have no idea. I want to take some time and just do some things maybe at my own pace. And then I'll figure it out. Maybe there'll be some consulting. Maybe there'll be some cause work that I'll now have.
And that is Sandy Barbour. Talked about doing things at her own pace. It sounds like the corner office. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. No.
No, señor! No, señor! No, señor!
Oh, when it comes to his own pace, it's more si, senor, si, senor, si, senor. All right. Neal Coolong, final half hour. Jeff Byers will recap the NCAA Wrestling Championships tomorrow here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
When car repairs get difficult.
Well, I just don't know. Me neither.
We get good. Sunbury Motors. More than quality new and used cars, Sunbury Motors specializes in complicated auto repair diagnosis. They can handle intricate repairs and even complete auto body with service open Monday through Friday, 7 till 4. And Sunbury Motors has made simple repairs easy. Maintaining your vehicle is necessary. Finding the time to do it is difficult. Welcome to Sunbury Motors Quick Lane. Open 7 till 4, Monday through Friday. Just walk in or call ahead. Relax in their remodeled waiting room with Wi-Fi, beverages, and snacks. While Sunbury Motors factory trained techs take care of your oil change, tire alignments, brakes, and inspections. Quick Lane, 6:30 to 6, Monday through Friday, Saturday, 6:30 till 2. Sunbury Motors, Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. We take the out of auto repair.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is The Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Before we get to Neal, I want to tell just a very quick story here, because Coach K, of course, has his team still alive in the NCAA tournament. And it's a story about Steve Mitchell. He passed away in 2020. Steve was the man who sat behind Coach K at Duke University's Cameron Indoor Stadium for 37 years, but he was not there this year because of for Coach K's final season. He did a lot in his 60 years. He was born with Down syndrome, and his family shrugged off the doctors and took him home to live his life. He was integrated in an era when many parents that made his parents groundbreakers at school and at church. Special needs moms and dads learn to accept that as part of parenthood, and with it comes advocacy as they open paths for their children and others. Coach K called Steve a good friend who had some challenges, which offered the humanity often needed in the use of inclusive language. The story goes that in 1980, the only thing Steve Mitchell wanted for Christmas was a Duke basketball ticket. Not an easy score. Steve's brother had a construction company and was hired to renovate the new basketball coach's home, Coach K. Krzyzewski's house. He asked how one might get a ticket for a Duke basketball game and explained his brother's Christmas wish. Coach K said, quote, "He can sit behind me." That was life-changing for Steve in his life. The following season, Steve wrote another letter saying, "Coach, I know we're going to have another great year. I was hoping I could sit near you again." Coach K said yes, a response that Steve and his family often did not hear because of Steve's life. Steve wrote Coach K a letter every 37 years. Each year, Steve would collect a ticket and make his way to his seat behind the coach, usually with the help of his favorite usher, Fran. It was a tradition that was life-changing for Steve and Coach K, and it helped build Steve's self-confidence, according to his family. And before every Duke basketball game, Coach K shook Steve's hand and thanked him for being there. Life is not about position titles or basketball. Life is about the way we live as people and the influence that one life can have on another, the loving of our neighbors, the unseen things. It's about using who we are and what we have as ways that we can impact and change another's life. Right? Probably didn't know that story about Coach K. But you know what? The best stories are the ones that you're not screaming out to the world, "Look at me, look at what I'm doing." It's the ones where you're just doing it because you know it makes an impact and it's the right thing to do. With that, we bring in the great Neal Coolong. Sir, welcome.
Greatness defined indeed. It is great to be here. Thank you again for having me.
It's always a pleasure, my friend. I want to start with Deshaun Watson. The Steelers, as an organization, made a conscious decision that, nope, this is not the direction we're going. What kind of statement, it's two-pronged, but what kind of statement do you think that the Browns are making to their fan base about not only trading for him, but giving him the kind of contract structure that in some way insulates him?
I think to answer that, we have to be clear about the four things that are going on with that from Cleveland's perspective. One, they're not concerned with the ongoing investigation or the allegations made against him. I'll just put that out there. That's just obviously the case. Two, the draft capital they're giving up is worth the player that they're acquiring. Three, the amount of money that they are then giving him, which is pretty significantly above the huge deal that he had. That's also not of consequence to them. Four, lumping all of that together, they want a quarterback. And to be honest, as a franchise that just really hasn't had one, you can understand where that desire might come to. But if we were to compare that to the Steelers flatly saying no, to the point where this is, if people want something fun to troll Browns fans on, keep in mind, Deshaun Watson's preferred location was Pittsburgh. He wanted to play for the Steelers. Mm-hmm. The Steelers were kind of the only team to really say no when there might have been mutual interest there. I don't think Houston would have been real thrilled in having to acquire Pittsburgh's capital over the next couple of years with Watson joining their team. Those picks are probably in the 20s. At the very least, they get, 12 or 13 from the Browns this year. But top to bottom, it's the definition of an all-in move. I mean, you really can't define it any more clearly than that. The Browns did not care at all about everything that they had to do in order to acquire that player. And I think it's pretty plain and obvious. This has never happened in NFL history. Nobody has ever gone this far, given up this much, paid this much to a player with that much scrutiny surrounding him. You have to have a fifth gear of not caring what people around you are saying if that's the move that you're going to make, if you're going to put that much capital into it. And I think the fact that the announced trade at the time was short on a pick. Houston tagged a pick on at the end, and Cleveland didn't seem to care about that either.
Right.
It just kind of makes you laugh. It's like, yeah, you may as well, throw in the proverbial bag of footballs while you're at it. I mean, you're giving up everything, and you are putting all of your reputation and all of your football team, probably over at least the next 4 years, on the success of a player that, to put it mildly, strains professional credibility right now. So it's gutsy, give him that. But we've seen him; he can play. But for Cleveland, for what they did, they better not sniff 9-8. They better be a 12 or 13 win team for the next couple of years, and we'll see how that shapes out for them.
I used this as an example earlier. I said, as we all know, O.J. Simpson was found not guilty in a court of law. Different circumstance, different case. But the Goldman family, didn't back off, and they brought him to a civil suit that netted $33 million and a lot of odd admissions on the witness stand by the defendant. That's where Watson's headed. It's the potential of civil suits and the potential of as many as 22 of them along the way, and that's part of it. Now this is only me speaking. If you give me a choice between Deshaun Watson as a football player, there's no question which way I go as the football player. But with the current circumstances, you give me a choice between Deshaun Watson and Mitchell Trubisky, I will respect my fan base, and I will go with Mitchell Trubisky. Because I think for my fan base, guess what? I made the right move overall.
Yeah, I really couldn't dispute that either. And I'll be honest, because this is probably more in line with most of teams in the NFL and how they'll think. I can't, for the life of me, I can't guarantee that amount of money for a player who's involved in whatever it is that Deshaun Watson's involved in.
Right.
I'd take a flyer on the guy. I might give him the deal I gave Mitch Trubisky. None of it guaranteed. Give him incentives to earn some of it back, and a lot of that's going to be off the field conduct as well. I'm going to protect myself in such a deal if I'm going to bring that player on. Deshaun Watson got arguably the most valuable contract in NFL history, to a point where, keep in mind that the hullabaloo around everything right now is the fact that he'll be suspended. I mean, there's no way he's going to avoid suspension.
That's right.
And the money that he will give up with that suspension is taken out of his base pay, which is $1 million in year one.
Exactly.
People are accusing the Browns of orchestrating that, when in reality, guess how much money T.J. Watt made last year in base salary? $1 million. That is not rare at all. In fact, it's common with long-term, big money contracts like that. And the reason the NFL hasn't closed that loophole, I'm sure they're going to now, is because nobody guarantees that much money to a guy who's facing a suspension. It doesn't happen. Right. So there was no reason to before. So it's weird. It's unfortunate in that sense, and maybe they'll figure out some way to address that. But there wasn't a need to do it because you don't guarantee money to players who are facing that kind of a suspension. And it's obvious that Cleveland's aware of where the NFL is going to land with all of it. So that said, it'll be whatever it's going to be, and they'll deal with it. But the amount of heat that they're taking on with this, oddly enough, I mean, he better be Aaron Rodgers. And he hasn't played for a year. Keep that in mind. He was not suspended by the team last year. He was not suspended by the league. He chose not to play. He requested, if not demanded, a trade out of Houston before all of this even came up. He chose not to play, and I think it was agreed upon by everybody involved that him not playing is probably the best thing for him to do. So what type of player he's going to be. I've said on this segment a bunch over the years, Steve, and you know this. you don't get better at playing football by not playing football.
Exactly.
So
I've said that over and over again.
Let's see what happens here.
Yep.
My thing is, you get back on the field, you play competitively, you cut on joints that aren't used to cutting against pro players.
Yep.
Boom, there goes your Achilles, there goes your ACL. Imagine what happens then. He's going to serve a suspension while he's on IR. I'm sure that'll go over well, but that's 2 years removed from being on the field. And you've got the heavy money of his deal coming up. So it's hard to describe the level of risk relative to how contracts are signed in the NFL. It's hard to explain how abnormal the whole deal is and how much Cleveland is taking on. And with that, it has, every indication that, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but this could be the biggest busted deal the NFL has seen since the Herschel Walker trade. And I don't think anybody ever thought that was going to be topped. This very well could end up being that.
All right, so now let's transition to the Steelers. I feel like one of the interesting and I think valuable under-the-radar signings was Myles Jack. What can he do for that defense, in your opinion?
I think with Jack, what we see from him now is he's a high-level pass defender. I think he can still blitz, but he's a high-level pass defender. He's better in space. He's better in coverage. He's not your kind of, to use the Mike Tomlin cliche, not your run and hit linebacker anymore. He's not just like a pure A-gap guy. His run defense probably isn't the best, but let's be honest, 2/3 of the plays in the league are passes now. So clearly there's a wide shift in how linebackers are being used. And Jack was as coveted as he was when he came out, largely because of that versatility. He can cover deep down the field. I mean, we on one of our sites, we put up a highlight of him carrying Cole Beasley 15, 20 yards down the field, and he's with him stride for stride. That's not every linebacker can do that. When you have that ability to take away that seam route, whether it's a tight end, slot receiver, running back, when you're able to do that, you have a high level of value. And to be honest, I think they drafted Devin Bush with that sort of thing in mind. I'm not sure if they're, reaping the benefits of that as of now, but they definitely weren't getting it from Joe Schobert. So the joke that I made was literally Kevin Colbert walked into a store, traded in Joe Schobert, and got Myles Jack out of it.
Yep.
Basically the same price, probably coming out ahead a little bit. It's absolutely a home run signing for them. We'll see. I mean, the thing on Jack, and I know Jack well because I absolutely loved him in college. I loved him coming out. The knee injury that he had, and more importantly, the degenerative issues that they found because of that injury. That's what dropped him to the second round. People weren't going to guarantee that much money over a player that you aren't really sure how long he's going to be able to play. He might be kind of dipping into that right now, but a 2-year deal for a player we saw last season play at a high level, it really isn't all that expensive, and it's a home run of a deal. If he pans out to the level you think he's going to, you got him on a discount. Their defense is going to get drastically better up the middle, which is absolutely what they needed to do in this offseason. I think Jack fits that bill incredibly well.
Neal, anything else on the radar for the Steelers in free agency before they really start setting up with the draft?
Here's the thing. I think this is interesting, and it's all speculation. It's just, if we're to connect the dots, I really like Tyrann Mathieu' fit in Pittsburgh. I like it financially. I like it from a versatility perspective. I like it from the fact that the Steelers tend to want to start two safeties and play two safeties on the field, and they don't really have a second safety right now.
Right.
The question is probably going to be length of contract with Mathieu. As we've seen with the Steelers, they're enamored by 2-year deals. I don't know if that's just the thing to do now or what. But
can I point that out? With Kevin Colbert at the end, I think the 2-year deal is to give just a little bit of a pad for the next GM.
Very well could be.
That's just my opinion, Neal.
It's a good question to ask one of them, and we'll see if they would give a concrete answer on what that would be. Because really, it looks to me more like they're trying to save cap space in future years so they can sign bigger deals. So to me, if you want to do Mathieu for 3 years, which I'll admit is a risk at age 32, it doesn't fit in the profile of what they've been doing. They've been signing younger players. to the 3+ year deals. Everybody else is with 2-year deals. So Matthew, I think, would get 3 years from somebody. He's that talented. You'll tack on a 3rd year to get a great year 1 from him and go from there. I think the Steelers should roll the dice on that just because of the versatility they would get on the back end between Minkah Fitzpatrick and Tyrann Mathieu is unreal. Easily the best pair of safeties in the game.
No doubt.
They've loaded up their cornerback position. They've got 4 veterans signed to extensions. I don't think they've ever done that. And a draft yet to go. They improved their inside linebackers. They've got good edge rushers, and they can still add to what's already a good defensive line. They could be a top 3 defense with Matthew. I think it's the type of defense that can get, as many as 2 takeaways a game. I mean, how much pressure does that take off your offense if you're able to take the ball away that often? Especially in a pass-happy league, you have loaded up against the pass. They should be a great pass defensive team. Matthew, I think, would accentuate that to a huge deal. So for me, I think that'd be the move to make if we're still asking. And every day passes by, it kind of seems to me like, maybe that's what's going on here. If he wants to come here, if they can get it figured out, he's got to know that they have a great opportunity of being really, really good.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I thought about that as well. There's certain guys, and it's because of how they play. But the ball finds them because they have the ability to know where the ball's going. Matthew was one of those guys. Right? The ball finds him. That's because he finds the ball. Yep, and that's kind of how you play team defensive football nowadays. Yep. You're putting guys in position to find out what an offense is doing during the play, read and react to it. More than anything, though, what it does is it takes away the top of an offensive plan because Fitzpatrick doesn't need to come down all that much. They would have plenty of packages in which he doesn't have to move past deep center field, and he can really do what he does best. They had him come down probably a little bit more for a variety of different reasons. I think, again, it's probably the lack of drop ability from your inside linebackers. It takes care of that a little bit. But Matthew can play underneath. He can roam around. He can make plays on the slot. He can cover the slot up the field. He can cover outside if you want to. He adds so much more of an element of versatility and confusion. You put all that together, panic throws, helping what's already an outstanding pass rush and has been for 6 seasons now. He would be a fantastic addition, and they would have a great defensive year if he was back there and everybody stayed healthy.